Welcome to Isn't It Obvious, where things are obvious. That's going to be the intro.
Started yet.
All right, okay, I'll get started. Isn't it obvious that if you haven't progressed in your hobby in the past 6 months, it's not a hobby anymore. It's just a lovely idea. I
would request an example of this.
So for me, I wanted to learn the piano during this type of special time when not much is going on. And,
a pandemic for our listeners.
Yes. And I felt like, I like to play musical instruments. This is my hobby. And I have not touched the guitar or the piano basically in 6 months, other than just pressing a few keys. But that's about it.
How has this changed from your non-pandemic goals and ideals that you've fallen short of?
Well, I think the problem is non-pandemic was like, I just don't have the time for it. My life is busy.
So what have your excuses been during the pandemic?
I don't have an excuse, so now I don't really think it's a hobby. The things that I do to fill the time, that's my real hobbies. And they're not very sophisticated or something like, I like to read books.
Is that sophisticated?
Like, for me, it is.
When the book series I've been going through this pandemic is 50 Shades of Grey, are you jealous of me going through 50 Shades of Grey?
I'm jealous you can read anything right now, Micah. I'm so depressed that I haven't picked up a new book since February.
Revisit Hardcore History. They're fantastic.
That's not a new book, Micah.
Isn't that a podcast? Are you recommending a podcast on our podcast?
If it's a good podcast, yes.
Is that okay, that's my point, is that
Also, fuck Joe Rogan. Okay, never listen to Joe Rogan. He's a piece of shit.
Fair enough.
First of all, we're going to move on about mentioning...
we're not supported by iHeartRadio. Thanks, iHeartRadio. We're fine.
And Spotify. Thanks, Spotify. No, the problem I have is that, I had this idea of what I really do as, this is me being sophisticated. This is what I enjoy doing. And the reality is that I'm just basically watching just garbage and...
Are you watching 50 Day Fiancé or whatever it is?
I watch stuff on YouTube, so I don't have the attention span to even watch a television show anymore. So I have to resort.
You haven't gone into the rabbit hole of hour-long vlogs about things?
No, the things you recommend me are within these little chunks that I could watch, and that's it's about 7 minutes is my max before I lose attention, and then it's straight to the Reddit black hole.
Yeah.
If I were to actually time what I do on my time off, that's not including, chores or cooking or cleaning or work or, all these other type of things you need to do to be surviving as a human being. And what do I do during my past free time? That pie chart is extremely depressing. It's not these I'm learning how to play a musical instrument, or I'm learning French because I want to be able to leave this country and go to Montreal or something like that. No, it is just garbage Reddit threads, garbage doom scrolling. These YouTube videos are not even worth mentioning because they're only 3 or 5 minutes long. It's not a very pretty look. And then when I realized this, I'm like, oh shoot, these are my hobbies. This is what I do for fun. If someone asks me, hey, Phil, what do you do for fun? I look at garbage things on Reddit and I watch YouTube videos that are 5 minutes long that are just completely pointless. Any spare time, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, that's my whole context of this.
Video games?
I don't really do board games anymore because I find the energy to set one up is just too exhausting, even though it takes 5 minutes.
Well, also when Editor crushes you every game.
That is also true. Editor does crush me every single time.
When you go into a game knowing there's no chance to win.
And it's hard to play with the same person over and over again and get crushed over and over again.
I even have house rules that are to my favor, and then it kind of
crushes.
I'm hey, we're gonna play this, but a little.
It's like when you're learning how to play racquetball, and whoever's better starts off at a point disadvantage.
Mm-hmm. And then it's no, that just didn't work for me. Strategy did not work.
And then you discover you're actually playing against Serena Williams, and you're like, oh, well, nope.
Phil, you absolutely have to say that to the editor.
Mm.
Playing board games against the editor is playing tennis against Serena Williams.
The editor already knows this.
He doesn't have to tell her.
So that's my Isn't It Obvious, that your real hobbies, if you would ever track your time on a pie chart, would be
I disagree in the current circumstances because they indeed are the current circumstances. This is something that nobody in America has had to deal with in 100 years, and we've certainly had more technological advancements since then. To, one, provide more free time, two, to indulge into hobbies. And third point, insert here. Anyway.
Who was that, what was that gaff? Who did that?
No.
The Oops guy.
Do not compare me to him.
Well,
Don't
too
you
late.
dare.
Too late.
Because I'm not running for president, and I'm not talking about...
All right, we're not going to get into government. No, this is all hobbies.
Just,
It's all hobbies.
there is a third point that anyone can introduce, and it's a lot of things tied for third in my brain. So anyone who wants to put a third thing. One, we're dealing with a pandemic. It's crazy. Two, we're dealing with an advanced level of technology that has split our attention span, and there's a myriad reason of what third thing could stop people from engaging in their hobby.
Okay,
Fatigue from, I don't know.
Life.
From-
if you're dealing with
from
the
2020.
president we have going through the weird social situations that we're going through in our current time, the fact that people were like, I have free time now, I'm going to do this thing, they are now looking at, I literally have to do this thing, or I do what I did before any of it because that gives me some sense of normality. Because you were doom scrolling before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean,
you
this
thinking
is
about
true.
non-doom scrolling now is more of a break than what was normal to you beforehand.
But
And playing the piano, it was a nice idea, and you're like, ooh, I got time now, but then you start beating yourself up because you don't have time, and then, since you don't have time, then there's really no point in going into it, but you really should get into it because now you have time, but now you don't have time because nothing but time has been there, and just everybody's dealing with fucking anxiety.
Well, yeah, I think that the third one is anxiety. If you're going to do a hobby, it's usually under normal situations, perhaps a more relaxing environment
Yeah, and
where,
it's an escape from what your routine is, maybe. Or it's part of your routine, but it's still an escape from work or, necessary house chores and things like that.
I haven't done the dishes in 2 months.
That's disgusting.
There's a fork in there.
Still disgusting. 2 months. You don't know. There could be some sentient creature living on that fork.
Water has gone over to... I've still made coffee.
We'll call it
I'm not a
Hannah
heathen.
2.
the idea, though, in my head is that if I were to ask somebody, hey, the two questions I really hate the most are, hey, what do you do for a living? I don't know why people ask that.
Because
What
in
do you
America,
do to
we tie a lot
survive?
to what people's jobs are as opposed to who they are because we judge them based on what their occupation is.
I
Because their
actually start
occupation
to
dictates
answer-
what level of societal status they have.
Mm-hmm. It's garbage, but yeah.
It's garbage because it's like, well, no, fuck you. That's what I do for a living. Go fuck yourself. And fine. But the second one that I actually is fair game, but I don't answer it very well, is, hey, so what do you do for fun? It's like a strange
You're an
way of
adult.
saying,
Nobody has fun.
fun? What do you, like, I go to
Unless
What
you're
is
swinging
fun?
and having great orgies, you're not having fun.
I like to drag race in Minneapolis. Like, no one, I don't
In a
understand.
minivan? That's fucking impressive.
Well,
Different
they're
kind of
second only
drag
to trucks.
racing, Micah.
Thanks, Sarah. Just-
Wait,
welcome.
I haven't seen you there, Phil. How good are your
Well,
heels?
I'm so damn good.
You
You
guys-
can't tell.
If you guys need any tips on
Hold
nails,
on. Philomena? Is that you?
No, that's my competitor. It's Phyllis.
Good, because she's garbage.
Well, she is.
Anyway.
And I just have this like lofty idea that people are like, hey, what do you like to do? I like to go skydiving. I like to go on vacations. I like to do these things that are just fun and exciting Instagram lifestyle. And in reality, it's just, wait a minute.
I like to sit on the couch and eat nachos and get all greasy.
And just feel the cheese sweat out of my pores.
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
hear what
God.
you're
Do
saying,
I
but it
smell like
doesn't-
onion powder? I smell like onion powder.
I didn't want to say this, but every time I walk into your place, Sarah, it's like, oh, God, is it Taco Bell in here?
No,
No.
Taco Bell is not.
Nachos
they don't
on a
sell
greasy couch.
nachos. They sell. I don't know what it is.
Hey, I didn't say Taco John's, all right? I didn't insult her.
Wait, okay, first of all, your hierarchy is wrong. Taco Bell is worse than Taco John.
No, because bad Taco Bell is not as bad Taco John's.
Listen, you guys,
Mm.
there's no way it would smell like tacos in here at all. The only thing it would smell like would be apples of some kind because I
So
still...
a Polish prison camp?
Yeah, that could be. It kind of
Wow,
feels
you
like that.
agreed to that way too early. Not knowing
kind
context.
of feels like that sometimes. I feel like I'm in a prison, in a tundra, trapped with
We live in
just a
southern
shit
Minnesota.
ton of
There is no
apples.
tundra, and you both are suburban princesses. You do not know what an actual Minnesota tundra is.
Yes, I do.
Go on.
I was up north during a big blizzard once or twice.
Oh, once or twice, not your entire childhood
No,
of looking out from your front over the farmland that is just flat and white.
no, it was lake property, and But there was a farmland across the street.
Yeah,
Was
your
The
your
dirt
boozy
road.
nature's
It was a
coming
dirt
out.
road. It was a dirt road. It wasn't really a street.
There was so much snow that the horse that you were riding on was like, I don't want to deal with it, and you had to return. You had to go back to the stables, but then you had to tell the
No, what happened was it snowed so much, and there was like enough wind that it made this really big like snowdrift that was probably as tall as I stand now. And at the age I was like half that height. And I made like the coolest snow fort ever. It was the best. And yeah, I kind of wish we could have that much snow again.
Oh, yeah. Sure. It sounds great when you have one experience like that. When you have like 15 of them, it kind of loses its magic around 5 or 6.
Somebody's snow elitist over here.
Yes, growing up in the prairie lands of Minnesota where we didn't have good redoubts or anything but small little copse of trees that kind of blocked some snow. But no, just flat land. It's a snowstorm in Oklahoma. You see it on the horizon, you're like, yep, there's some snow coming. Then 4 hours later, there's snow coming. You're like, still black out there. Be snow coming for the next 6 hours. 12 hours later, there's still snow coming.
12 feet later.
There wasn't a lot to do in the when there's a snowstorm that hits these suburbs, because you don't really have a lot of lawn or land.
But you also have like
with.
2 hours before it just gets gross with all the plowing.
Right, and that.
Well, if you lived in a cul-de-sac, all the snow got plowed up on your property because you were at the end of the cul-de-sac, and then you got
That's
this
true.
huge fuck-off mountain of snow
Yeah.
in which to, make...
Phil, did you want to fight against your suburban princess? That line was clearly drawn in the snow, apparently, of the cul-de-sac.
Oh, yeah. Did you have a cul-de-sac growing up, Phil?
I
How suburban princess were you?
I live really close to a really nice church, so like
That's-
they would have to plow the roads quite frequently because the people would be like leaving and coming to this place, and it was also next to a nice park and tennis courts, and it was really like annoying because although I did not live in a cul-de-sac, they would like just shovel the snow so that my parents couldn't get their cars out, so they would give me this little shovel, and I had to like dig from the top of this mountain, like dig down, of course, to like get the snow out. And then once it was like suitable to kind of like move it to the side, like I just felt so angry that like the snowplow would just ruin my day just by like shuffling all the street snow and just blocking me.
I don't
and
think
everyone else.
that's a universal experience, though, for
Right.
anyone who lived in the suburbs, because the plows would come and ruin all of your shoveling, because you would go out and you would shovel off your driveway, and the plows would come in and they'd block you back in, and you have to go out and shovel out the trench or whatever that they've
Right.
set up at the bottom of your driveway. And no, my dad was very good at he worked so he had like a fancy nice snowblower, and
Oh yeah.
he would go out, plow his driveway, and then he would go out and plow like 20 feet of the cul-de-sac in front of our driveway. So the plows would just be like, I guess we'll just not trap the person in the
And I will guess,
driveway.
as a father, those were some of his proudest mornings ever.
Probably,
Mhm.
or
When he would
nights,
wake
or
up
whatever the
at like
snow was.
extra early, like, ooh, snow's coming tomorrow. I'm going to sleep early. Then he'd wake up at 5 a.m., give a nice stretch while looking out the window where the snow's falling, and be like, oh, I get to do some shit today.
Yeah, that is definitely his personality. He would fight with my auntie over who got to ride the lawnmower and mow the lawns up north. So weird. Anyway.
So I only have one snow story that I was kind of proud of, which is the moment my parents actually got a snow thrower.
No
Snow
more
thrower?
shovels for you, Phil.
No more shovels for me. And I would go ahead and do this driveway, and then I would do a neighbor's driveway that was directly in front of us because I had enough gas. I don't really want to have it just sit there, so it wouldn't take me that long. And I would do this a couple times during the winter, and then every once in a while there would be like cookies in the mailbox for
Aw.
me because the neighbor knew that I was doing this, and I would eat it, and I would be like, fuck everyone else. Yeah, cookies. So this is a nice.
So cute. That's
and then
adorable. What nice neighbors.
Mom would make me hot cocoa, and I would eat it with a cookie. It was great. So it's a good time, suburban princess style.
See, I think
yeah.
that's just how small towns should work. But it's not how they
Or
work,
just
because this is
towns
America.
in general should work.
No, because that's a very idealized small town thing, where urban areas are definitely, everybody's out to pull themselves up by their own bootstraps.
No, that's not
That's
true at
kind of
all. In
mentality.
fact, actually, I would say during a big snowstorm, when you're like in the urban centers, people are out in the morning shoveling out everyone's cars, and they're helping each other out way more than out in the suburbs. Just saying.
Kind of like a karma system, though.
Well, yeah, because they're all plowed in because they all have to park on the street, and so morning comes, everyone's car is stuck in like 3 feet of snow, and they have to like go out and shovel everyone's cars out. So they do.
That's my thought about why would anyone live here? Because like it's already.
We like a challenge.
Yeah, you like it.
No, it's not that we like a challenge. It's
Keep
everyone
lazy
saw
people
that
from living
snowfall
here.
on what, Tuesday? Was Tuesday the snowfall recently?
Yes, yes.
Probably.
It
for
was
the-
a gorgeous snowfall.
It was quite lovely.
As soon as the white started taking hold and didn't melt away immediately, it was gorgeous.
Yeah, but you endure that.
Yeah, well, like the first
That's
couple
what
of
makes it
snows,
worth enduring.
The first couple of snows are kind of nice. I mean, except for the whole like people forgetting how to drive in it, but they look nice. But like after month 2, 20, 30 snows later, you're just like, okay,
Well, I disagree.
ready
You
for
have
spring now.
you suburban princesses just don't want to deal with the elements.
I think Micah's,
Yeah, I mean that's
having
kind of
some-
makes sense, right? Like we don't want to live out like biovac outside. Like we
Well,
want
no,
to have
then
a
move to
comfortable life.
California. LA, you don't have
No.
to deal with any snow.
Yeah, we have to
No,
deal
you-
with smog, and that's awful.
Yeah, and fires.
And fires. Like the whole
until
of the
this-
state's just on fire. That sounds awful.
The other thing too is like for the listeners of time of recording, Tuesday was October the 20th. So like for me like the clock started for winter in I don't know like late October, and it's not gonna end till like I don't know early April.
How much snow is on the
May?
ground now? 4 days later.
Well, that's the problem is that you don't know if it's just gonna continue to keep on going or not.
But
Like, it could
that's
be one
why
of those
you have to
winters.
take, because if that same type of snowfall happened in the middle of December, it would be as beautiful as it was in mid to late October. But the fact that it's going away in mid to late October makes it better because it's not the same whiteness, but you still have to find that same beauty when it's happening in the middle of December.
I'm fine with snow in December. I am like very upset when it happens in October.
Also, based on the last 10 years of weather, our February is going to be an average of minus 12.
February is the worst month.
February is the worst month.
February's worst month.
So, speaking of hobbies and snow, what
Is that
kind
the
of
topic?
what kind of fun snow activities did you guys do besides, building snow forts and like doing the normal, shoveling? Because that's not fun. Snow forts. are fun.
Debatable.
Huh?
Debatable. Shoveling can be fun.
Well, I made fucking snow Jesus. I made snow ponies. I made snow camels, snow lions.
I sat inside sipping hot chocolate looking at the snow.
I shoved snow down my brother's back of his jacket. 'Cause I'm a
That
terrible
sounds
older
just like
sister.
a shitty older sibling.
Wait, it seems
Hey.
like that's a one-sided enjoyment.
He did get me back.
For what I did was when I was living in my childhood home, we didn't really have a lot of lawn, but we had enough where we could kind of make a snow maze. So my brother, my sister, and I would like all have our little shovels, and we would make this maze that's about like waist high. It was a lot of snow, and we're not that big back then. And then we had our dog, and we would try to run the maze with the dog, and then we would try to like have food for it somewhere in the center
It's
of our
way
maze.
more elaborate.
We would draw out the maze as it's snowing. We would draw out the maze like on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper of how we kind of wanted to look. And then we had this kind of like 2-story split house so that you can kind of see the like land from like survey it from kind of up high. And then we would just be like, go to town, just like, okay, this is how we're gonna do it. So yeah, I was pretty nerdy even back then. We had like little
Definitely
roundabouts.
The
and we
nerdiest
had-
thing I've
yeah.
ever heard of anyone doing in snow, but it also sounds kind of fun. So
Yeah.
fair enough.
Way better than the nothing I ever did in snow when I had a very nice sledding hill as a backyard growing up.
in Flatland.
Sounds like you didn't
Well,
have a
yeah,
very
but I
good
was next to a
imagination.
river, so there was about 100 feet of
Oh,
a hill
hill.
that, as a young kid, would have been perfect for it, except for the whole you have to walk back up that hill in order to slide down again, and that was just a cost-benefit analysis. Like, going down is not as much fun as how shitty it is walking back
Yeah.
up. Also, it was
That
a
wouldn't have stopped me.
shit place to mow in the summer,
Mm.
I could believe that.
especially with a tow behind on an ATV. Whew! It was poorly mowed when I had to mow. Anyway, we're talking about hobbies.
So hobbies
Yeah.
versus ideas.
You can't force a hobby. A hobby has to happen organically. And
kind
I
of
feel
agree.
in quarantine, everybody's been forcing hobbies. And that's why
Yeah.
they haven't stuck.
But what about the hobbies you had before quarantine?
But
Like
what
reading?
hobbies do you feel you've lost before quarantine?
Reading. I have not
But
been
that's
able to...
stress
True.
because of quarantine.
I can't concentrate. It sucks.
Don't
I hate
you
it.
do the hobby to escape from the drudgeries of life? The stress that already existed, is it to say that, like, because of the quarantine, that it's too stressful to even use escapism as a path out?
You spoke negatively about the hobbies that you have maintained during quarantine.
Oh, yeah,
That were also the hobbies you had prior to quarantine. So
Mhm.
now you're looking at your hobbies now in quarantine in a different light, and they find you are describing them in a more negative general sense.
That's true. Because they're not the hobbies that I would actually publicly say that I have. If someone asks, hey, what do you do for fun? I'm not going to be like, I like to doom scroll. Like, this is not a good sign. You make up a lie, like, oh, I like to cook. I don't know, like, I like to make pizzas or something. Like, just something whimsical.
I like to take them out of the wrapping and put them into a 425-degree oven. Whew, it's a lot of fun most nights of the week.
400
Like-
degrees, 13 minutes, portal to hell. That's my oven.
425 for 15 just to cut some losses and err on the side of overdone as opposed to underdone.
425 is the magic number for me and my
Mine's
oven.
never underdone unless I've already been baking or something that day. 'Cause I feel like it, like my portal to hell evens out over
Do you
time.
put the pizza in a cold oven?
Yeah,
What?
for
Jesus.
13 minutes, 400 degrees.
What is
It comes
going...
out done. I promise. It's a portal to hell. It's hotter than balls in there. I swear. It's not 400 degrees.
You know,
I set it to
I know
400,
what I'm going
but-
to get you for a birthday present.
A pizza
A
oven?
thermometer? I already
An
have
oven
one.
thermometer.
I have one of those.
Do you not use it?
No.
Why?
Why would I need to?
You're just going to trust with the demons in the
Yes,
portal of hell
we have
to
an
cook it
understanding.
properly.
We have an understanding.
Wait, hold on. Who is this? Oh, it's from Sera. I must admit, we had a pretty good job against her asparagus last time. So, what is it? Frozen pizza? It's come out good.
Yeah, I just can't do anything sweet. No baked goods. I gotta actually follow a recipe there.
Wait, stop. What is she making now?
Pumpkin pie?
Pumpkin pie? Oh,
Gotta burn the shit out of that
burn
crust.
the top, center, underdone.
Yep.
Oh, that's terrible.
Now, one side of the pie is charred, the other is just raw.
What is it? Apple pie? The top, undercooked. The base, burnt. Let's see how she likes that one.
Yeah, pretty much.
You have the worst gremlins in your oven ever.
They love bacon, they love pizza, and they love French fries. But so they're great with the salt, but they do not like I gotta watch it when I put cookies in.
What are these, French fries? No, she said the freedom fries. Oh, they will be soft and stringy.
I like soft fries. Just kidding. Sometimes.
Nobody likes a flaccid fry.
That's true. That's different.
Mm,
Soft
mhm.
versus flaccid is different.
That's what Rudy Giuliani said.
Listen, it's all about. Never mind.
It's all about the firmness as opposed to the softness or the flaccidity of it.
It's about the terminology you're using. It clearly implies one thing. Anyway,
So you're saying it's alright for politicians to dodge questions now, huh?
I'm saying, yeah. I feel like we've discussed it, and that was the end.
Pay attention, listeners, to next week where that reference will make sense.
So, what kind of ideas, besides trying to play the piano and guitar, have you guys done this quarantine?
Oh, I started a workout routine that lasted never.
Mm.
Okay, fair.
I made space, I set up my dumbbells, and I've attempted it before, and it did not take at all.
It's hard to work out inside your house.
Especially because every other floor joist creaks because
Yeah.
my apartment is shitty.
Yeah.
And I want to own a home so bad, but the fucking market is so stupid.
Oh,
What is that? 600 square feet, 1 bedroom, or 3 bedroom, 1 bath for $250,000? All right, that sounds stupid.
Yeah, okay, so my realtor stopped by today just to drop us some pumpkins because she's just really nice. And she just said, hey, I just around the neighborhood and it was buying pumpkins and
Bullshit.
I realized that you're in this area, so here's some pumpkins. And we're like, oh, okay.
If you also wanted to sell, you can make about $25,000 on this house.
Yeah, that's probably, there's an aspect to like, okay, well, I want to be in good terms with my clients because if they have friends that want to move, then like, they're going to say, oh yeah, use this agent. It was very nice. She gave us pumpkins, which is true. Also, I really liked her as an agent. But I was like, hey, so basically, how is the market like? She's like, oh, it's really high still. The inventory is low and the cost of these homes are only going higher. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, none of this makes any goddamn sense. Mm-hmm. Like, because wages haven't increased. And again, I can complain about this for years, really, nonstop. But like, even homes that are like you said, Micah, like, oh, what, 1,000 square foot, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, they're outside the price range of many people, like unless you just happen to have a windfall or something like this. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, but why? Like, it's just... So, yeah, my thought is I'm not even sure if I can think of a solution other than, like, living in the exurbs. So now you're not longer living in the suburbs. You're living, like, 1 or 2 rings around that just so you can get cheap land and build a house or something. But I don't think that's a real solution. I'm just complaining now.
Well, no, that's a correct complaint because you don't have people that are willing to do that, so it's not happening. So expansion is being stagnated by that high initial cost. And the fact that people don't want to live that far out of where they, air quotes, work, even though they work in some suburb, that they would move 10 minutes outside of that suburb as opposed to that suburb being 10 minutes outside of the city center. Mm-hmm. And that's where the stagnation is happening. Also, we need to destroy a lot of homes just to get them more up to date because there are garbage homes that are selling for over $250,000 that were built in 1930.
And
right.
Clearly the owners did not take care of their shit.
You're going in, you remember his girlfriend at the time owned a home on the north side of Minneapolis. And you would walk in, and because it was so old, it was built in the 40s as part of initial expansion for Minneapolis. But the wood in the living room was bowed to a noticeable extent. Mm-hmm. It was 8 inches of bow in the middle where just all this liquid got in and expanded the wood from below. That's still $200,000 home.
Yeah, they're making some in the north suburbs, brand new townhomes that are probably like 1,300 square feet, starting at $300K. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, but what
That's townhomes. You don't even have the land.
And you still have to suffer with an HOA.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And those dues.
And so I'm like, wow. The thing is, like, Minnesota isn't exactly like a bastion of people wanting to come in because our winters are so terrible, right? Like, if you look at one of those funny maps about how many people are fleeing the state and how many people are accepting, like, California is accepting a lot of people from Minnesota.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like wondering, like, well, we're not getting more people.
But we're also a highly taxed state because of our winters, and that's a deterrent for a lot of people to move here.
So it's like, then why is everything rising?
Because our economy is artificially inflated, and this is owning land is one of the few ways of air quotes guaranteed return on investment.
Okay, if that's the case,
that's still going to crash though, because people aren't going to be able to afford it. The reason they can is because the interest rates are so low right now. They're like 2.5. That's
that's
bonkers.
Low.
Yeah.
That's bonkers.
I locked in a rate much, much, much higher than that. That's crazy.
And the fact that it's even that low is also fucking with the market because now you have a bunch of whales coming in, buying up a bunch of these properties to make them into rental properties because the interest rate is so low, they are not incentivized to sell it, they're incentivized to rent it.
Or they're incentivized to hold on to it because, sorry to say, if the market crashes, you're out however much, pay it and what it's worth isn't going to be.
I think that's an area of tax that needs to go up is for individuals owning multiple homes. That needs to skyrocket, like as a federal thing. If you're claiming you have a home in Michigan, you have a home in Arizona, you have a home in Florida.
You should have
that should be an exponential rate.
You should have a primary home where you vote. You don't get to vote in multiple states. You have a primary home, and anything else is taxed up the...
I think anything beyond your first, because everyone should have the American dream of a vacation home.
You mean...
What?
Well, I grew up with a cabin, and I feel that is something that should not be penalized for anyone if they make the means to have. But anything beyond that second potential residence is then taxed up the wazoo.
I think a cabin is a fucking frill, Micah.
Yeah, dude. Like, I would have...
I mean, I also grew up with like that privilege, but that wasn't a cabin, it was a fucking nice house. But
right, but if you're having a residence that is away from any places of industry, you're not taking away homes from people who need it. It is clearly meant to be, if you're within your means, a frivolous expense that you can have.
Nope, that's taxed. If it's a house, that's different. There's a difference between a cabin and a house.
What? Can you not live at your cabin year-round? Should cabins not be winterized?
Some cabins you can't, or I would say if it's not built to be, like if there's no septic tank or something, or like no running water or something like that, like then no, that's not a livable house.
What are you talking about? Outhouses happen. How do you think people lived 100 years ago?
Well, I know, but like that's not what standards today would be.
But that is irrelevant when what is meant to be taxed is the ownership of land.
I don't know.
Whatever
still disagree.
amenities they
I think
have
it's
is irrelevant. The main crux
well,
of
then you're
this is
taking away
owning of
someone's
property.
possibility of living there, Micah.
Not necessarily. If it's not something that somebody needs to live at. Nobody needs to live on a lake. People need to live near industry.
But
correct?
There's industry on a lake.
What?
Fishing.
And just
You're going to
general
commercial ship
vacationing.
in one of the 10,000 lakes in Minnesota?
Okay, fair enough. That's not commercial. Okay, what if there is... I mean, there's still industries on lakes. Like, if it's a big enough lake, for example, you have boating clubs, you have boat racing, you have ferrying, you have...
Is that a needed industry? Is that producing something that applies beyond those people participating in it?
All right, I'm going to throw a curveball here and say that what if you had a fast enough internet connection and you could just work in those cabin areas and you have to commute maybe
You
once
don't need to
every
live
2 weeks
there.
or once a month.
It's not a necessity that you live on a lake.
But
Even if you are
it's
able to work
land
from
that-
home and you have the high enough internet access,
But it's
any
land,
place can be your office.
But it's land that people
Right,
could
but
live on, that you're
Yeah,
taking
so you
away
could
from
say
those
that-
people.
But it's not,
Right, that
because
person
in
who-
that situation, anyone living anywhere is provided that same opportunity. Whether or not it's on a lake is irrelevant.
No, it isn't irrelevant because in the case of the person saying, well, what industry is here? It doesn't matter because that person could work in
But then
telecommute.
they can work anywhere.
Right.
Thus, the fact that it's on a lake is irrelevant because
Exactly.
they can work
Doesn't
anywhere.
matter. Yeah, it doesn't. Your cabin idea doesn't have to be a lake cabin.
No,
It
it's
can be
not.
literally
It's
any
not a cabin idea. I used a cabin because that's what we grew up with on a lake. Anyone can have any type of vacation land.
But that's
But that
frill.
vacation land subtracts the amount of inventory that someone who actually would use there as their primary residence, and that's it, would be able to. It's like the same problem with a guy who owns multiple
Houses. You only need the one.
homes. You only need one. And then, like, so if you want to limit the people who are just hoarding these homes and becoming
So
like
hoarding homes,
slumlords.
plural, means more than the two. Nobody's
No.
hoarding when they have
Two.
two of a
Two
thing.
is plural.
If I have one
Two
coconut,
is
that is my
plural,
coconut.
Micah.
I get a second coconut, that's my coconut. I am not hoarding coconuts if
You
I have
are
two
hoarding
coconuts.
coconut. You are hoarding. You only need one coconut, Micah. You don't need
So
two.
having
You
two
only-
is hoarding?
Yes.
yes, if you have 2 coconuts and and everyone is like trying to get just a sliver of a coconut to rent, then yeah, fuck you, man. Like you are totally
So
hoarding those
am I
coconuts.
the same? Am I in the same boat with 2 coconuts as the person who has 20 coconuts, or is there a varying degree that we can start implying here? Because there's more
There is a
nuance.
varying degree, but you are not going to get any goddamn empathy for having 2 coconuts, okay? Like, that's
I know
just-
I
That's
have
one
2
more
coconuts.
coconut than you need.
But Beth Bezos over there has 40,000 coconuts, but you're going to come at me?
Yeah, but you're still he's
Because
still
there's
taxed
more-
on those 40,000 coconuts. You get
No,
to be
no,
taxed
no.
on one.
Beth Bezos is not taxed on those coconuts because there is no coconut tax. He's
Wow.
made sure of that because he's thrown a couple hundred coconuts at those that make the law.
This is my point about all of this, is that I have neighbors that go to the cabins up north, and you know they got these homes around this area in the 70s or 80s, back when people could not only just buy one dwelling, they could buy 2 dwelling and lots of fancy boats and cars and things of that nature. And in my head, I'm struggling with just trying to secure a dwelling for myself that's not a townhouse and something like this. And it's like these people that are at the right time at the right place, not only do they have a nice home, but they would have like a nice cabin or a vacation home as well. And I'm like, how much money were you guys just raking in compared to the cost of living and inflation of how much things
That's
were?
a greater
like the
issue
student debt.
on how average income has not kept up with inflation. And that brings us to a different issue that we will absolutely cover on a new episode of IAO.
Thanks, Mom.
Does this count as an idea, you guys? No.
No,
Thanks, Mom.
no, it doesn't. Stop it. Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
Bye.